This meal is not filet mignon, I can assure you. It is in fact embarrassingly inexpensive. But if you have to eat something, and if you have to enjoy what you're eating, I would highly recommend this very cheap meal. Basically, it's a variation of the old Franks and bean. Remember that recipe? Beans and Franks. Except, of course, the beans are only 6 to 9 cents a can, and I used spicy hot links instead of the regular hot dog. Other than that, it's the same old usual thing that you probably had as a kid. Once it started to boil, of course, I added all my seasoning. Remember what I've always told you? To be creative and season to your taste. That's what's important. In my case, I simply added dumplings because I like to add dumplings. And I seasoned my dumplings with good old garlic salt. And that was it. I made them and then I dropped them in my pot to simmer. While that was simmering, about 30 minutes or so, perhaps a little longer, after all the dumplings had to be cooked, I made some rice because I'm going to have some rice. And on top of the rice, I'm going to have my beans and frank, which brings me to the other part of my meal, the chicken. Okay, if you're going to be honest, you're going to have to admit that not everyone is a fan of beans. Now, I've got to share this with you. You see the price tag on the chicken? It says $4.49 a pound. 1.43 pounds is $6.42. Now, I learned this when I was in England many years ago, where they buy everything fresh, from their vegetables to their meat. You know, they go to the butcher shop and get their meat daily. Everything purchased fresh. Beef, chicken, and vegetables. Now, in your grocery store, they'll have a shelf. And on that shelf, they'll have chicken that must be sold today. If you're going to cook your chicken that day, why not save yourself 50%? See that price? So I saved myself 50% on the chicken because I knew that I was going to cook it right now. I chopped it up in bite-sized pieces and I seasoned it to taste. Here you can be creative. You can season your chicken to your taste. Of course, I love to use butter. You know that. When I'm not using butter, I'm using coconut oil. And once I got my hot oil, I added my chicken. Fully seasoned chicken. Again, be creative. Season your chicken well. And that was that. So now what I have is a chicken that was cooked, chopped up and cooked. And of course, with chicken, you've got to be careful and you've got to always cook it properly and make sure it's cooked and well done. So I put a lid on my chicken for an extra 15 minutes to make sure it's done. At the end of that time, of course, I had chicken that was delicious, well cooked, and ready to be eaten. As a filler for my omelet, gotta ask you, what do you think came first, the chicken or the egg?